What you need in the building, what's happening, people? So we're going to talk about a bunch of things in boxing. Hope you guys are doing well. You can always chat, correspond with me, but we're about to get down to business. I'll keep it at this angle. All right, people. So let's talk about a number of events that happened in boxing. What you need, watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget you can like, share, subscribe, donate by Western Union or MoneyGram. And you can also, right now, be involved in the chat and chat up a storm in the chat section. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, I want to talk about Devin Haney versus Yorkers Gamboa. We saw them both make weight, which was very good. Gamboa obviously is coming to fight. Devin Haney, of course, is coming to fight. And we'll see, because I hear a lot of people say Gamboa is washed up and blah, blah, blah. Mainly because, remember, after Tank dropped him, he damaged his heel. He either tore his Achilles heel or something. I don't know exactly what happened, but he's good now. Gamboa always brings the fight. He always comes to fight. He always hurts his opponent. So this would not be strange if he manages to hurt Devin Haney or even possibly beats Devin Haney. This is not going to be a surprise to me because I understand the kind of fighter Gamboa is. He takes a lot of risks. He's a fighter to the end. I don't think anybody's ever knocked him out cold. Nobody's ever knocked him out flatline. He always gets back up. All right? Doesn't have the greatest chin in the world, but once he's dropped, he gets back up and he fights. And it happened for all the fights he's been in, including the one with Tank stopped him. He's never been knocked out cold, okay? So because of that, Urquhart Gamboa is going to be Devin Haney's toughest test to date. We'll see how Devin Haney is able to perform against Gamboa. But what was very intriguing to me was after the weigh-in, they were having these interviews and so on. They had an interview with Gamboa, and then they had an interview with Devin Haney. And then out of the clear blue sky, the WBC shows up in the form of Andre Suleiman, who is Mauricio's son. Andre presents Devin Haney with the WBC belt. Now, I do not know if Devin Haney was carrying around an interim WBC belt, but it's it's so funny that I actually have to laugh about it because the WBC just they seem to be making a lot of belts lately. And if that wasn't enough, they had a belt for Devin Haney and they had a belt for his dad. I can't make this shit up. It's so funny. So they gave his dad a belt as well. And Devin Haney's father had a belt on it. It's so funny. And Devin Haney's dad had a belt himself. So the WBC, oh Lord, the WBC has been giving out a lot of belts lately. I don't know why. If it is that they have abundance of belt making material or something, but they've been making belts just about every single fight they could and every single occasion. It's pretty funny when you think about it, because no other sanctioning body is doing this, okay? It's too funny for me. I'm laughing all the way through it. It's just too funny. So, Devin Haney he received the WBC belt. I can't. You would think they would present it to him after the fight. Nope. And it's so funny how it happened. You know, Andre Suleiman came up and said, and now the WBC would like to honor Devin. It's too funny. It's way too funny, okay? But anyway, I just thought I'd talk about that because the WBC seems happy to sanction as many fights as possible for championship fights. They seem to be on a they seem to be trying to make as much fights, championship fights, as possible. And they have belts for them. Let's just look at their track record over the last couple of months, okay? They got a ascension belt on Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., which is now a sanctioned bout by the WBC. They have a franchise belt, which both Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez have now. That has nothing to do with it's so funny. It has nothing to do with winning a championship. When you get the champion just needs to request the belt. Apparently, you don't even need to be a WBC champ or anything. You just they're willing to give you a belt if you request it. It's funny. Oh my God. And then on top of that, WBC, apparently, they've been giving out, of course, all these minor title belts and all these other belts. They've been just going belt crazy. And they want to make a belt for even fights that they haven't even sanctioned. You know, they wanted to have a diamond belt for a WBO fight, and the WBO president was like, stay out of our business, okay? I'm not sure why the WBC's on a belt making, they love to make their belts, and they're just proliferating belts, and they're sharing belts with just about everybody they possibly can. I'm not too sure why they're doing that. I don't know if it's to advertise their brand. I'm not quite sure what they're doing. They have their belts are lovely. They have the best looking belt ever. But you don't want to have the belt as desirable as it is. You don't want to make that belt so ubiquitous, or should I say as common, so common that, it's everywhere. You want to be able to have it for special occasions. So I'm not too sure if this is the way the WBC is raising most of their funds to operate their organization, or they just have abundance of materials to make belts and they don't know what to do. So they're just giving people belts like crazy. I'm not too sure what it is that's going on with them. But man, they're on a belt making spree. They just making belts like crazy, and I'm not quite sure why they're doing that. But it is what it is, I guess. Talking about another hot topic that's come out in the news. Canelo's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, came out and said that Canelo's now a free agent. And I know a lot of you guys have heard this news already. I just want to give you my take on it. That, and we're hearing rumors, it's just rumors, that Canelo may be facing Caleb Plant next. Now, I gotta say, if he's a free agent, that actually works well for Canelo, because that he can determine his own future as he so chooses. He's not attached to any. And Canelo, if you look at Canelo's history, he's been with Showtime, he's been with HBO, he's been with DAZN, and you can see that Canelo wants to have the freedom to go wherever he needs to go to make things happen. And so the fact that he's now a free agent and he's looking at negotiations with Al Heyman to face a Caleb Plant, or to face David Benavidez, just kind of messed that up. But what it allows Canelo to do is now face Jamal Charlo without all this red tape. Because he's a free agent now, he can face just about anybody he wants to face. And somehow I have a feeling that he was kind of pigeonholed to having to face Gennady Golovkin with DAZN, and that's the only fight they wanted him to have. And by him breaking free of, say, Golden Boy and DAZN, because they were doing bad business, I'm not going to lie. Golden Boy was doing Canelo wrong. And it all started when Canelo was trying to be undisputed. He wanted to face Demetrius Andrade. And then all of a sudden, everything just got weird. Okay? Because Canelo was talking about unifying all the belts and all of that. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't facing Demetrius Andrade. He wasn't facing And I found that very strange because Canelo's not a guy that duck and dodge anybody. So I believe Golden Boy was trying to pigeonhole him to face Triple G. I think that's what was going on. And now that that's soured, and now that the zone can't get their way with Canelo and get him to get that third Triple G fight, and Golden Boy was trying to make that arrangement, Canelo's like, I'm tired of you, Golden Boy. You're not making the stuff that making the stuff that happens for me. I'm gonna go my own way. I have my own promotional company. I'm just gonna leave you guys and go my own way. And I think knowing that Al Heyman would welcome him back, sort of like into the PBC, because PBC is like a place where guys who they have nowhere else to go, they can build that platform and build up themselves and then move back out and do whatever they want to do. I told you guys that's what the PBC is. And Al Heyman's kind of made it that way. And so Canelo probably had talks with the PBC or had talks with Al Heyman or had talks with somebody on that side. And I do believe that that's how he's going to be able to make the fights that he needs to make. So the Jamal Charlo fight looks like it might happen. Caleb Plant fight, that's a great fight. If Caleb Plant is down for it, that's a great fight. I mean, Caleb Plant had more than enough time to train for the Canelo fight. If that happens, I mean, Benavidez lost out on his opportunity to face Canelo because he screwed up the fight by messing up the scale stuff. So that's on him. But on that side of the fence, we got Caleb Plant, we got Jamal Charlo, and we got Jose Benavidez. And I'm going to tell you all right now, Canelo versus Jamal Charlo is going to be a tremendous fight. All right, tremendous fight. And yeah, I think Caleb Plant can beat Canelo. I think he has the tools to beat Canelo. And that's a good fight. I mean, if Canelo fights Caleb Plant, that's a good fight. All right. Now, I would have loved for Caleb Plant to have a little bit more time. But hey, if Plant says, let me get the experience, let me do what I got to do, I think I beat Canelo, then go for it. You know what I mean? Listen, in this era, it's about the best facing the best. And I'm tired of people, you know, trying to make excuses for not facing the best. Not to say that they shouldn't. I mean, Caleb Plant, if he decides he's not facing Canelo, I mean, I can't be mad at him. But at the same time, I think if Canelo made this move to face Caleb Plant, it means somewhere in the background they was working out their stuff, and Caleb Plant was working out something to face Canelo. If that's really what was going on. But I do feel that Golden Boy, I've been saying it since quite a while now, since the Danny Jacobs fight. I think that Golden Boy is kind of keeping back Canelo from doing what he needs to do, you know? And quite frankly, Canelo has a lot of experience. He's got so much wealth of all kinds of stuff behind him. And I'm glad he's going his own way. I think he's going to be respected more for it because now there's no Golden Boy, there's no umbrella promotional company, you know, to give you favoritism. So if he wins a fight, he won the fight on his own merits. And nobody can say, oh, Golden Boy pulled the strings for this, or this guy pulled the strings for this. No, even though he's the pound for pound king in the world, whether people accept it or not, most people accept that he's pound for pound. Whether they accept it or not, Canelo pulling his own strings, doing his own thing. I mean, it was going to happen at some point. And moving out and doing his own thing. Now, the question is, will people accept him for his merits when he gets a win over whoever he gets a win over, or even if he does lose? Will people still respect him for that? So that's the question. A lot goes along with Canelo. Canelo's still a big draw. He's got a huge fan base. So that's what he's bringing with him to start with. In any fight, if it's a pay-per-view fight, he's bringing pay-per-view dollars. I mean, Canelo's big. So he's the only guy that actually in the recent modern era has broken a million pay-per-view buys post Floyd Mayweather. He's the only guy that's done that. So Canelo definitely could be this big pay-per-view star again. It depends on how he now charts the course of his career and how he dictates, because he's now in control of his career. He's in control of how he dictates fights, how he gets fights. He alone. There's nobody else assisting him. So it'll be very interesting to see how He charts his own path. How now that he doesn't have Golden Boy, the machine to promote him, how he's going to innovatively and creatively do his thing to get his promotions across. I think that this was the time for Canelo to split with Golden Boy. And unfortunately, with DAZN, as a result of that, when he splits with Golden Boy, his Golden Boy now have to sort out their business with DAZN. And I just think that Canelo, um, you know, he's going to make his movements, and he's going to dictate what he wants to do. And if Golden Boy wants to co-promote with him, right, which is probably what they were doing all along anyway. They probably were co-promoting Canelo. If they want to co-promote him, he could hire or get an engagement with people to co-promote him or not. It would be interesting to see if Oscar personally thinks that that's a good idea that Canelo's doing to go off on his own, or if Oscar's against that. Now, if Oscar's not against it, then it shows me that Oscar has the maturity to understand the boxer was going to outgrow the promotional company that he was with, because he wants specific things for himself. Oscar did it with Bob Arum. Floyd did it with Bob Arum. Mikey Garcia did it with Bob Arum. And so on and so on. The boxers tend to outgrow their management. You see Mikey Garcia is getting fights. Mikey Garcia has his own promotional company. We got Jamal Charlo's got his own promotional company, but he works through Al Heyman. Canelo has been working with Al for a long time, even though he was with Golden Boy. Canelo kind of knows the ropes of the business as well. So I don't think Canelo's going to have a problem with his own promotional company, you know. I see some of you guys coming in here and watching this. So I personally think my take on it is it's a good thing for Canelo. I mean, at some point in time, the boxer has to take control of their career. And I think Canelo ultimately decided this promotional engine that I was working with, Golden Boy, and even the platform I was on, DAZN, they can only do so much for me. They only want a specific pathway for me to go. I'm restricted by that. And now I'm going to have freedom to actually do what I really want to do, and not what these promotional companies want me to do. So it should be interesting how he's able to, because I think Canelo went up in weight, even though he wanted to face Sergio Gola. But I think he went up in weight because all the promotional companies wanted him to do was face Triple G. Not the promotional company, the platform. DAZN wanted him to face Triple G. If he's going to fight a middleweight fight, it had to be Triple G. I get that feeling. And I get the feeling that that's why they were penalizing Canelo through Golden Boy. And Oscar assured them that he would get the Triple G fight. When Canelo realized they were trying to pigeonhole him that direction, he was like, no, you're not going to do that to me. You're not going to do that to me. Sorry, you can do that to somebody else. You're not doing that to me. And he did a court case on him. And apparently he was successful in doing so. I don't know if that's true. It might be premature in the information, but apparently he's a free agent now, free of the DAZN contract, free of, apparently, I don't know if I'm correct, free of Golden Boy. And now he's able to really take autonomy and control of his career. And I see which direction he actually does go from there on in. I do believe he probably wanted the freedom anyway to face whoever he wanted to face. So let's see who it is that he actually is going to face, that he's free to face. And let's see if the promoters are willing to work together with him, or if he has to just work with the PBC fighters and the PBC end. And it's almost, because what I get, let me break down a couple of other things I noticed in boxing. I was listening to Devin Haney, and he was saying Bob Arum doesn't want to do business with me. You get the feeling that certain promoters are spiting certain fighters, and you get the feeling that different promotional companies, they just don't get along with each other. You get that feeling, you know, because I guess they have fighters in-house or something for them to work with. But I think because Golden Boy has Ryan Garcia, they allowed Canelo to leave because Ryan Garcia is the next top thing. So maybe Canelo was allowed also, or maybe they just couldn't find legal means to contain Canelo. Canelo went to the law. He has his own promotional company, which is Canelo Promotions, for those of you who don't know. So actually, Canelo, he basically can call his shots. He calls his own shots because he has the infrastructure in place. And I'm guessing he was co-promoting with Golden Boy, just like how Devin Haney's co-promoting with Matchroom, just like how Mikey Garcia co-promoted with Matchroom. So I'm guessing that Canelo was able to just say, okay, I don't want this co-promotion anymore. And you guys didn't satisfy the deal. Y'all didn't do what you were supposed to do. Let me get out of this. Right. And now he's going to do it in his own, which should be very interesting. You know, they're calling him a free agent because probably he doesn't have a license to promote in the United States. But I do think that he made a very good decision because obviously I feel like the Golden Boy, not necessarily Oscar De La Hoya, but the Golden Boy promotional company had carried him thus far, and now they were kind of messing up everything. And I guess Golden Boy promised the zone the Triple G fight unofficially or officially, whatever, and Canelo decided he's not delivering on that. He probably was going to, and then when they, you know, the way how the zone's behaving, he's like, that premier fight only Triple G? No, heaven. And Canelo's like, I'm not facing that dude anymore. Now, did he cut ties with the zone in such a manner that whatever happens, he may not be able to face the zone fighters? I doubt that. I think the zone will still want him to face a Demetrius Andrade. But I think what's happening with the zone is the zone don't know how to. They don't know how to do business, man. Cause and unfortunately, man, that's your major money maker that you bring in, and you just allow him to get away from you. You know what I mean? Um, you allowed him to get away from you and Golden Boy. Allowed, you know, and a cash cow. That's the guy that really generates the stir, the buzz for their brand. They're still building other brands. So I just think it's a dumb decision on their part. Again, they dropped the ball on that, and that's too bad for them. Um, Hopefully, however, that Canelo can still find a way to fight some of the Matchroom fighters, but I assume the Matchroom fighters will have to go across to Showtime to face Canelo. Cause I guess Canelo's gonna base himself again back in Showtime. So um, how I see it is Canelo's in a win-win situation. He's not gonna lose out, and all his fights are going to be big. Win, lose, or draw, he's always going to be still a name in the business, and he's still going to be a draw. So I really see it as a problem for Canelo. I don't see this decision as a bad one for him. I think it's a great move for him. And kudos to him on doing it at the right time. This is the best time to do it. COVID, you know, everybody's still trying to get back in their groove and stuff. So this is the best time to do it. You know, with respect to the upcoming weekend fights. So we talked about Devin Haney. He's going to be facing Yurkis Gamboa. Gamboa is going to be bringing his best game. He's going to be bringing the thunder. He's going to be bringing the lightning. He's going to be bringing his angles, his speed, his quickness. Devin Haney's young, he's strong, and he's going to be looking to try and make a statement with Gamboa. We'll see what really happens in that fight. You know, my prediction would be straightforward. Devin Haney wins, but you never know. Then on the undercard of that, Devin Haney's promoted fighter, Darrell Cunningham, he'll be facing Medina. Now, I don't know too much about Medina. Darrell Cunningham is a up and coming prospect of a fighter, so we'll see how he fares against Medina. I can't say what will happen, but I will just throw a guess. This is not educated at all, and I'm going to favor the favorite to win, which is Cunningham, but you just never know in the fight game. So we'll see what really actually happens there. And then talking about TGB Promotions. Now, I'm not too sure. I think this should be on Fox, but I'm not too sure if it'll be on Fox. I saw it advertised through the PBC, so I'm assuming that this California fight will happen. That's Luis Ortiz, and he will be facing, I forgot what the guy's name is, okay? So to see, you know what's interesting? And this is mad props to Deontay Wilder on this. Nobody is trying to face Luis Ortiz. Nobody. All the big names are still not trying to face Luis Ortiz to this day. Okay? I ain't seeing Usyk trying to fight Ortiz. I'm not seeing Dillian White trying to face Ortiz. I'm not seeing The young guys like Joe Joyce trying to face Ortiz. Who's going to face Luis Ortiz? Right? Still a boogeyman. Deontay Wilder faced him twice. Tyson Fury ain't trying to face Luis Ortiz. Why? I'm just asking. Right? He's facing some, I forgot what the name of the guys that he's facing. But the point is, Luis Ortiz is still a dominant force in the heavyweight division. In fact, I think he's ranked number 4 in the top 10 heavyweights in the division. Okay? And he been stopped twice by Deontay Wilder. Okay? So, all this talk about Deontay Wilder can't box, Deontay Wilder is a fluke, Deontay Wilder is not good, Deontay Wilder would be beaten by heavyweights from the past, blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. I don't believe it. Until somebody who's in the top 10 faces Luis Ortiz and shows us that he's a done dude, I'm not going to buy that crap because they're all steering clear of Luis Ortiz. Okay? Deontay Wilder's the only guy that faced Luis. That's a big mark on Deontay Wilder, and y'all can't take that away from him. All right? I'm just saying, because I like to be a realist. Like I said before, I'm real about things. I don't endorse his excuse making, but at the same, because I think he should try to change his game, make sure he got all his dotted his I's, cross his T's, be more observant, because I don't think he's going to be pressing charges on Tyson Fury. And I don't think he's going to get the sanctioning bodies to, even with the physical evidence that he has, I don't think he's going to get the sanctioning bodies to support him in facing Luis Ortiz. So, in fact, in prosecuting Tyson Fury, I think if he can get a third fight and beat Tyson Fury, I think they'll now observe and look at these things, but not before that. I don't think so. But the truth is that this dude has done something that none of the other heavyweights have done. Okay, ain't no heavyweight trying to face Luis Ortiz. All right? The last heavyweight who was worth something was the kid from Philly, I forgot what his name is, who faced Joe Joyce and gave Joe Joyce a good run for his money. In fact, that kid from Philly, he went 12 rounds with Vladimir Klitschko. You know who I'm talking about, right? He's not really a heavyweight, okay? And by the way, when he was facing Luis Ortiz, he was winning until Luis Ortiz caught him with that uppercut. So, all of this, and remember Luis Ortiz is southpaw, slick, not a whole lot of football, but he's slick southpaw. Luis Ortiz is a problem. And he's going to be back in a showcase fight, hopefully, and we'll see how he performs. I think he's going to perform well. I pick him to win and stop the guy. And I think that it's sad because why I say it's sad is because a lot of times, people want to down fighters. They want to speak negatively about fighters, but they forget of all the things that they have accomplished in their career. They want to say Deontay Wilder faced duds. Luis Ortiz was not a dud. If Luis Ortiz is a dud, and if he's so old, why isn't all the other guys facing him? Look, Dillian White preferred to face Alexander Povetkin, who knocked his ass out, than face Luis Ortiz. Correct or wrong? He was making excuses. Oh, Luis Ortiz is this old guy. Well, guess what? Povetkin was an old guy, and he knocked you out. He knocked you out. Knocked you out cold. All that blah, 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 blah. We don't care about that. The truth comes out. And when the truth comes to light, what are you going to say then? Now I shut you up. So I don't see anybody enthusiastic about facing Luis Ortiz. Until I see that, I give Deontay Wilder mad props on that. Now, I talk honestly, like I said, from Deontay Wilder's side, if you're going to pursue the cheating that Tyson Fury has been doing instead of a rematch, if you're going to pursue that, then understand this. You better work on your game in private. You better work on your game to get it better. I don't want to hear all these excuses. You need to work on your game because you got to come back better. You must erase any doubt in anybody's mind. And if you come back better, then it proves that what you did, what you were saying before was true. But if you don't come back better, what's the use making all these excuses? You could have made them after you came back better. You know what I'm saying? That's just my piece on that. Cause most people still looking at Deontay Wilder as that was a weak move, and it is what it is. I mean, people are not going to be sympathetic. People tend to tear down fighters. I get what he's saying. He showed video evidence to support what he was saying. Um, I probably agree with him that Tyson Fury was cheating, but at the end of the day, it's not going to help the situation. You just saying he was cheating and cheating and cheating. But what did you do? What did you do in that fight as well? Were you expecting him to come attacking you like that? No, you didn't. So at the end of the day, his game plan succeeded on your game plan. If you probably wouldn't have gotten hit like that if you knew that was how he was coming. Let me see if people are talking in the comment section, because sometimes I miss your comments. Okay, cool. So anyway, Luis Ortiz is going to be fighting over the weekend. In addition, we also got Frank Sanchez on that same card who's going to be fighting. Frank Sanchez is fighting another guy. I don't know who the guy is. Both guys I picked to win. Of course, Frank Sanchez doesn't really hit that hard. Like, concussive power, knock you out with one shot. Where he's a sharp puncher and he punches different places on your body. Another Cuban fighter. So we're going to see how those two Cubans do in California over the weekend. And we got Devin Haney and Gamboa, and then we got Darrell Cunningham also over the weekend. So those are the weekend fights. My predictions are all the favorites win. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't do any research on anything. I'm just calling them. These are the guys I know. These are their names. I know Gamboa as well. And Gamboa is going to make a good account of himself, I believe. I suspect. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research. But I do see that if he could fight Gervonta Tank Davis with one leg, basically, after the second round, and get all the way to the 12th, and really he wasn't getting stopped in the 12th. But, the referee called off the fight. Even so, I think that Yurkis Gamboa is going to give Devin Haney a hell of a fight. I do not know how hard Devin Haney fights. Punches, but I do know he's going to give Devin Haney a hell of a fight. We'll see how it all turns out in the end. He's going to try at least to give Devin Haney a hell of a fight. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, now I just remembered it, is, I was listening to different people talk about Tank, and, he doesn't hit like the lightweights because he didn't get Gamboa out of there. Well, Devin Haney will settle that score, and we will know if that's true or not. If Devin Haney gets Gamboa out of there, the first time he hurts him, he gets him out of there. That's totally different. That tells us, okay, so Tank really doesn't have that kind of power that people make it out that he has. Because I was listening to somebody online here talking about that as well. And, I always speak about how Tank is really his timing and his speed, how he places his punches that really make a difference. He puts his whole body weight into the punch when he's really teeing off. But I think that I don't think he hits like one of those guys like Triple G or one of them brick fighters who have bricks in their hands. I don't think that's the kind of power he has. I think it's more of a sharp punching power, that kind of like a Deontay Wilder power, where he's very sharp and very quick, and he's got good timing and catches you, and that's it. So that's what I got for now. What you need in the building. I hope you guys have a good one. You guys will watch the video. No excuses. Let's see what these guys do. Let's keep it moving. As to the elections, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Joe Biden's going to win this election based on how things are going, how the marginal districts are trending. I'm seeing him taking, he only needs 6 more electoral votes, and I think he's already got it. But I do believe that Donald Trump will contest those results, and he will not concede to losing. And I think it'll go for a while. It'll go for a couple of months. But then again, the inauguration of a new president really happens sometime next year, so it doesn't really matter. But I do think that Joe Biden has won this election by a pretty big margin in terms of states. I think he's going to take at least two more states or 3 more states. And these are states that Trump won before. And generally, by and large, the Republicans usually hold these states, and these states right now, they're swing states really. But I think Biden's about to take it, and take it in a tremendous way. Not big margins, but I mean in terms of in terms of states. He's going to take a couple states, and it's going to be different. It's not going to be like close, like it's close in the states, but I mean it's not going to be close like um, in terms of states. It's not going to be like 6 and 6 states or something like that. So I think that's how that's going to pan out, which would mean that I kind of suspected something like this would happen. Just the way how the tone and how the American people are looking. And let's not discount, just to talk about the elections a little bit. Let's not discount also the enormous amount of people who also voted for Donald Trump for various reasons. And I can get why they would do something like that. So I'm not mad at people who voted for Trump because I get why they would do it. You look at the black communities, for example, they got a little something, something out of it. And, the fact that things kind of uprooted and became very obvious, sort of also kind of set the stage for people of color to be able to have more of a voice. So I understand that. I also understand that people sort of picked lines not just based on race, but they were picking lines based on what benefits could they get as business people or business owners. So I get, there are various different reasons why people would have supported Donald Trump, knowing that Donald Trump is not the sole person who makes policy. And so they're looking at guys like his vice president, for example. And I think people were, based on that, having certain leanings towards, different people because of the stable people, some of the stable people that were around Donald Trump. But I think what made Donald Trump's election, and we had something like that in my country, was his rhetoric. His rhetoric just was extremely, his rhetoric was terrible. But you know what he did? He kind of exposed what Washington really is, like the true feelings of certain people in Washington. And so while he didn't couch his words properly, and he had very inflammatory rhetoric, his rhetoric was very inflammatory. So I think that alone destabilized the world and destabilized the United States and destabilized a lot of things, a lot of instability, even though Wall Street and businesses were doing very well, and conglomerates and big companies, certain big companies were doing very well. By and large, it sort of caused people to go into all these conspiracy theories, and just basically got people in a sort of set state of unrest, and everybody was very uncomfortable in the world. I don't know if it'll return with Joe Biden. I think so. I think he's a small country person. I think he's come from the middle class, so he knows what it is to earn your way up the chain and to work through ranks and stuff like that. I think he's a guy who at least is perceived, which I think is true. He's perceived as a guy who is very more or less straight shooter, but at the same time can work together with a lot of different people. And I think he's a guy who seems to have good ethics and morals grounded, so he can bring about a certain degree of stability. So like I was saying, in my country, there was a certain regime that was in power, and because of the inflammatory language of the guy who was then prime minister of my country, because we have what's called prime ministers and presidents, right? We work with the colonial system, the system of the UK. So he was saying a lot of inflammatory things. He would call the people of the country stupid, and he would target certain people and individuals and talk about them, and it led to a coup. The country ended up in a coup. A lot of lives were lost and stuff, and he was held hostage for a period of time. And this is a terrible thing that happened in my country, but it wasn't that the regime wasn't doing good things and taking somewhat good measures at times. It was that the rhetoric and the arrogance of the leadership really turned a lot of people in the country against the leadership. It wasn't that they weren't saying truthful things, but it was the way how they said it. And I think similarly, they weren't being inspirational. Let's put it that way. Some people were, though. I think the same thing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump lived in mayhem and a lot of confusion, even though some of his policies were really good policies. And even some of the things he says to this day, I agree with him on masks. I don't believe that masks stop or prevent anything from happening to an individual, especially the cloth masks. And that can easily be debunked. And I'm a person who came from a medical background. So I think that certain things that he said and even certain things that he talks about to this day have merit in them. I'm not one of those people who just because he's been this sort of person or the way how he manages country and affairs and stuff that I'm going to just discount everything that he says. Okay, so that's how I think about it. But at the same time, I do understand some of the positive things that have been done in this administration, but I think a lot of negative things have overshadowed that. And particularly the fact that, it served as something good, but something bad at the same time. The relations between people publicly now, the tensions, the visceral nature of things, because people are being very visceral about stuff, kind of like what happens on the internet, the trolling and stuff. And you can see Trump was trolling people sometimes. And in the victimization of certain people in office and just some crazy stuff that went down. Maybe he has more accessible information to that, but I personally think that it doesn't order well for the country to be like that. Now, having said that, a lot of issues that started up in the Barack Obama administration, carried across to the Trump administration. They just kind of get much more highlighted, just tremendously highlighted. And you could tell that the media, most of the media out there was anti-Trump, which is why I thought that he wasn't getting a fair shake. And I stopped really watching news on him or on anything because I started to focus more on sports and entertainment because I realized that a lot of negativity and a lot of negative news was coming out. And I didn't care for combat. I didn't care for a combative nature. I could get that in sports if I wanted to. I think that he didn't understand the place between people making a public statement through sports and the history of that. I don't think he understood the plight, and he still doesn't understand the plight of a lot of minorities. And he says some really reckless things concerning that, even though certain Latinos and certain Latino people have supported him. I still think that to a high degree, he says a lot of the crazy stuff that really destables the country. You can't be saying stuff like that. Like you as a leader, you just can't say that stuff. It's just, you don't do that. Like, don't do it. And I think it created a bad image towards the world. Now, there are people who think like him, and so they're cool with that. But I think it brings a certain degree of instability to how the world works. But maybe that's what was needed. Maybe a shakeup or instability was needed. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think Joe Biden, and people say all kinds of things about his policies when it comes to law enforcement and so on. And I just want to make it abundantly clear. I am not anti-law enforcement. Okay? We need the police to maintain order. So I'm not against it. Okay? And anybody who's saying, I don't agree with that. But what I think that is very important for people to understand is, and I think Joe Biden started to isolate it, and I think it's the same point I would make, is the people who feel they're above the law, who are in law enforcement worldwide, because they know certain stipulations protect them. I think that is the problem. And, there is nepotism all around the world, and that also who kind of gets you off the hook. But that is the major problem in law enforcement. So people who are racist, people who have issues, people who are just goddamn haters, people who are militant people who ended up in the police force and have bad reps and bad records, and they keep on moving them around. Those people shouldn't even be with a job, far less be free to walk around. Some of these people have reps. They've committed murder several times. Murder. I'm talking murder. in their officer's uniform. They've killed people for various reasons, but nonetheless, they've killed people. And they're walking around. And we all know, even in my country, that there are corrupt police who run. They run, literally, these people run criminal activities. Okay? So, and what happened to George Floyd is there is no way in God's green earth, there's no excuse for that. These people shouldn't be walking free. And I watch my boy, what's his name? I watch his channel all the time. And these guys have been released. They're walking around free. They are on bond. They're walking around free, ladies and gentlemen. The people who are responsible for George Floyd's death, the murderers of George Floyd. I'm not even going to try and mince words on this. This was murder, cold-blooded murder in public. Not manslaughter. This is murder. Murder one. And we have accomplices to murder. They're walking around free. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they're walking around free at this point in time. Okay? That is highly unacceptable. There is no way that should be acceptable. Those men need to be incarcerated. They need to be, they should have lost their freedom for that action and their choices that they made. Because if law enforcers, if people who enforce the law cannot be disciplined, then how the hell are you going to discipline the citizens? If the enforcers of the law cannot be disciplined, they're above the law, then why keep the law? Every man for himself. Let's go wild, wild west on everything. Because the law enforcers are there to enforce the law. They cannot be lawless. They must be held to that standard. And no matter if you tell me you're giving them all these resources and all this weaponry and all this nonsense, as Tupac Shakur said, and so correctly, you carry these heavily militarized, armed to the teeth police officers into his environment. But he cannot strap on any weapons. He must be demilitarized. He must lose his weapons. He must lose his guns and exist in that area. So make this make sense for me. Make this make sense for me. I'm walking around disarmed in a dangerous area where the police patrol heavily armed. That makes sense to you? No, it doesn't make sense. And then if I am mistaken for the criminal elements that these police have geared up and armed up for, I get decimated because I have no defense for myself. So in the state of Texas, you can carry firearms. Everybody's allowed to carry firearms, okay, and defend themselves. And we see it in the southern states. People going to church and they're strapping up. They're strapping up going to church. They got their semi-automatic weapons. They got their machine guns and shit. It's crazy. Everybody's strapping up. Everybody's willing to clash and go wild, wild west on everybody, right? All because of a police officer who abused the law and had not just brutal excessive force, but murder. We saw it on the television screen, and Black Lives Matter went nuts, and everybody went cuckoo, and then all of a sudden, white people are strapping up, and then black people said, we're not taking this shit, we strapping up too, and everybody's strapping up, right? Everybody's strapping up. You're good, praise God. All you guys can strap up, great. And what are you accomplishing? Absolutely nothing, right? So at the end of the day, this is not what we need. Any country, at least my country isn't doing that, thank God. You know, we have to exist together. We must find a way. When we confront one another, we fight one another down. What we need to do is educate one another. Educate one another. Let him know your perspective and the other guy gives his perspective. And you listen. Just shut up and listen to the different perspectives. That's how it works. And if you feel a bit emotional about it, but you need to sit down and talk. Everybody needs to sit down, chill for a minute and talk. Strapping up does nothing. What are we going to do? World War III, and then what? Whoever remains, what are we going to do? Scrap again? And then the enemy comes in, whether it's China or Russia, and cleans the rest of you up. Use your brain, man. Then you want to talk about we're all Americans. That makes no sense. I'm just saying. If you're happy to be in the United States of America, which is the entertainment capital of the world, which is a place where, you know, people have a lot of success stories and people are able to make it up in there. People come from Mexico, they come from Latin America, they come from Africa, they come from, Europe, they come from all over the world to America to make it up in there, okay? Everybody's coming to America, right? Why? The advertisement is, hey, man, you can make it up in here. So that's why everybody comes up in there, all right? Everybody rolls up in the joint. So at the end of the day, foreigners made America what it is, and the local people made America what it is. And y'all need to have respect for each other. You got so much culture, you got so much different diversity of people, and they manage to survive with each other. Okay? So we gotta grow. We gotta grow up as people, man. We gotta grow up as people. Diversity is just a thing. It is what it is. Change is inevitable. It happens all the time. We got to get used to it. But if we're going to progress forward and we're going to actually do something with each other while we're on this planet, and we talk about we're Christians and all of that, if we're serious about that, then we'll be serious about getting along with each other somehow, some way. I'm not saying it's easy. Absolutely not. But at some point, we've got to be able to speak with one another to get along. All right? Now, just watching recently, Thomas Jefferson's descendants, the great Thomas Jefferson, the president of the United States of America. And Thomas Jefferson, different people interpret this thing different ways. I'm just going to talk about this because I don't know why I'm going down this road, but I'm going to go down there. Thomas Jefferson is the guy that wrote in the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, right? Now check this out. People say Thomas Jefferson had slaves. What people don't know is Thomas Jefferson had a wife and, he had kids by her. But then he had a mistress after that. After she died, maybe he was messing around with the mistress or not, I don't know. But he had a thing with her and he had children with her, okay? Maybe that's where he's coming from with all men are created equal. Have you ever thought about that? His Declaration of Independence was like, hey man, these slaves just like us. He probably rocked it with the slaves. Who knows? Because he had kids by the woman. That we don't know exactly what went down, right? We don't know if he even signed his will over to her or what. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the dude was like. Hey man, I dig the chocolate. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. All right. I don't know. I don't know if he was a hypocrite or if he actually wrote the Declaration of Independence thinking about the slaves. Who knows? I'm just saying. But what I do know is he had slaves. Now, how did he rock with the slaves? Because I've done a lot of history. And I've read a lot of accounts of different slaves and how different plantations were run. And different plantations rocked the different ways. Some of the slaves actually worked along with the owners and they had a good relationship. Actually, some owners weren't abusive to slaves. So there's different plantations had different things going on in them, right? The problem is if you got sold from a decent plantation to an owner who used to treat slaves really bad. See, it's another thing people don't understand, and so it's complicated because it go from place to place, plantation, how things. When slavery was abolished, right? It was a good thing, and yet it was a bad thing. Because the slaves who used to get along well with their owners, see, people don't know the whole story. Everything comes down to relationships, right? Even though some slaves people were purchased and went to certain owners actually treated the slaves like if they was family. Like it was family. So different people actually treated slaves differently, and that's why you get these mixed experiences in the South, where some people actually had a connection with their owners or masters or former owners or former masters, and whereas some other people were just fucking evil. Like these motherfuckers was evil. You know what I'm saying? So that's the weird thing about talking about slavery. There are different experiences from different people. I see somebody coming up in here and talking. Whoa, slave talk. Yeah, you afraid to go there. I'm not. I never am. So anyway, why I talk about this is because, again, you know, getting along. We have to understand how to get along with each other. Let me connect it because I need to connect it. So Thomas Jefferson, and I did all of this when I was looking at African American studies in the United States. I started really read up the different accounts, and it was it's just volumes and volumes and volumes of accounts, and it was very, very enlightening to me. But nonetheless, Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote this thing, "All Men Created Equal," sometimes we wonder, what did that mean? And I can spin it and say maybe he tasted of. Maybe he had an atmosphere, or maybe he tasted an atmosphere in which he realized these people from another country who spoke another language was just like him. Maybe that's what he saw, but he never really, what should I say? He never really explicitly actualized it, and probably, I don't know if we have evidence or not, because we do know that there was a big issue with people being buried under his estate, even though he had, I think it was 7 children with the woman who was a slave. I forgot what her name is. And their descendants to this day. They are descendants of Thomas Jefferson, and they lay claim to that, and that's just what it is. And why that's so cool? Why that's so cool is because, get this, listen to this. Now, we don't know about George Washington and all them guys. Maybe they had the same thing going on. Who knows? But what we do know is this. They were black and white. And they, of course, they were embraced by the black community, but they got white family. And what's weird about that is, and what's so important is, you got to understand, even in fucking slavery, follow me now, we've been one all along. Because genealogy and blood is thicker than water. Let's go there. Blood is greater than color of your skin. So America's been built on the people who built America, but on top of that, those people who built America had the birthright of America. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you black, go back to Africa. I can say, well, you white, go back to Europe. The Native Americans own this joint. I could say that, right? But look what happened. Boom, boom. I want to show you something else. Now, wicked people have made this difficult. Wicked people have made slavery difficult. And the descendants of these wicked people are benefiting from that. And they need to understand. That's why understanding is so important. They need to understand the other side. That's all we're saying. Now, with respect to other people, the Native Americans, I'm sure there's a story behind that too. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. We know these are the original people and they have the original claim to the land, but besides that, the point is, I'm sure they have a story too, and they're descendants of white people who are Native American as well. I would not be surprised. If you've been a male and you've been a man, you know what it is. You don't need it. What don't need to be spoken don't need to be spoken. My point anyway is this. The country wasn't built on division. It was built on unity. Hence the United States of America. It was not built on division. if we're going to talk about division and we're going to be divisive and we're going to separate the whole country from me and y'all can't have it, then it can't be called the United States of America anymore. Now, truthfully, it should be called the United States of Mexico. Because the people, you know what I'm saying? It really should be called that. But the point anyway is, I mean, come on now. How many Spanish-speaking people do you meet on a daily basis? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. You could go any state in the United States of America, somebody in there is speaking Spanish, right? I'm just saying. All right, so anyway, that would be the real name of the country. It's the United States of Mexico, or the United States of Southern America, or the United States of Latinos. You know, they're everywhere. They really and truly, let's just make it abundantly clear, ladies and gentlemen. And we have the same phenomena happening in my country. Latinos, you can't stop them, okay? You just can't stop them. They're everywhere, but they're not registered to vote, so they're the majority minority. Let's put it that way. I'm pretty sure for every American citizen, there's about 4 or 5 Latinos. No disrespect to the Latinos, but y'all know y'all not registered up in there. I believe the majority of Americans in America are Latinos. I'm being real. I'm being straight and real with you guys. I really truly believe that. I think there's, like the Chinese, we don't really know how many Chinese are in any given country. I'm just being real. They get in there and they get in there. They get past the law, man. They just get in, man. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. I don't think that'll ever change, okay? They all up in Alaska and everywhere. Driving cars and shit. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know what I mean? I think the majority of people in America, to be honest with you, I think they're Latinos, but I think they're in the middle states. I think they are in mid-America, and they occupy certain places like Alaska and stuff. They occupy those places because those are wide open spaces. Like America is so huge. There's a lot more space than there are people, and most of the people center around the cities, right? You know, so that's why if you look at the states and even the population densities, you see that the corners of America, where, you know, the corners of America are the places where it's the coastal area where ships can come in and dock, where airplanes come in and port. You'll see that that's where the population density is. In the central areas and the southern areas of America, they're not as dense, but there's so much space. It's like ridiculous, right? So the point is that if you get past the border, baby, you can disappear and not be found. It's just too big. The place is vast. It's a huge expanse of space. You can just disappear somewhere up in those country areas, and you don't even have to see a soul. You don't even have to see a soul for the rest of your life if you want. It's big. It's a big place. You know. So, you know, that's all I'm just trying to say. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot more people than the survey will tell you from outside of America in America, and even European people too. You know, the Wild Wild West is still there, you know. That's why, let me stop this nonsense. I'm having too much fun on this video. So anyway, it was about boxing, the WBC with their belts. And then we can talk about, let me see what AKU was saying. I'm anti-slavery but pro-sex slaves. Oh man, 92 AKU, you silly man. You silly man. I Of course, we are all anti-slavery. Nobody likes to be controlled without their permission, right? So, of course, we're anti-slavery. But I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that we need to get along, people. We have to. We're not going to survive as humanity or the human race if we don't get along with each other. Specifically because uh, we're being replaced. If you haven't realized, I was just looking recently on a on grocery supermarket. Amazon has a grocery store, and everything's automated. I mean, you can go shopping and with your credit card. You don't even need to pull your credit card. All you need to do is show. Oh, I think you need to show your identification on your credit card or something. And you go into the grocery, and there's this cart now that basically, well, everybody knows about this already, but the cart is able to know what items you put inside of it and weigh items inside of it and so on. And you don't even have to go to a teller. You don't have to go to a teller at all. You can just do everything yourself. If you need to find something on the aisle, you go to Alexis. Alexis tells you what it is, where to find what. It's very automated. And that's the direction we're heading in. There's no more, you still will need the grocery store people, like in terms of putting things on shelves and stuff, but we won't have to cash nothing. It's cashless society we're going towards. And that has its negatives, tremendous negatives and dangers. And it also has its pluses. And we have to find a way to balance it. And if we don't work together as people to make each other accountable and to protect each other, that system is going to be something that will monopolize us. If let's take, for instance, another coronavirus situation happens. Hopefully the coronavirus situation ends and we don't have to go through this longer. Biden seems to be a guy that's pro-coronavirus, ways to handle things pro-coronavirus. I hope that he comes so we can return to normalcy. That's what I hope that happens, and that we're not depending on any one given body that monopolizes everything. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So with the coronavirus, with the cashless society, we end up in a situation where, if we are not very attentive and we're not very careful, a lot of people can be victimized by that, and they can lose their accounts and stuff, and all kinds of crazy things could happen. Of course, you can have backup accounts and you can work through different networks, which can protect you. But the point is, it can get very dangerous, and how they've been passing laws to try and control the internet and control what people, access information and stuff. They've been doing this all by and by to try and get this sort of one world order that they're trying to get in place. And we are very, very, everybody should be very wary of that, because that's not cool. We're still a ways from that, but still it's especially with this COVID pandemic that happened. It showed us how quickly things could change for the worse. And as much as we're still pushing normalcy, like you can see me in a normal environment, and it could get very, very policed very, very fast. Things can change overnight. It hasn't, everything, all the infrastructure is not in place to make that happen, but people are pushing for that. And again, wicked people, evil people. They have no good intentions. The same people who were punishing people in slavery and beating up people, we have that same type of mentality, and that's those same types of people and those same type of slave drivers in the world today. Because even though there's good people around, there are also evil people around. So we have to keep that negative, deadly element out of there. If we watch movie after movie after movie, we see the villain always wants world domination, right? The villain always wants to control the whole wide world. The devil always wanted to control the whole wide world. We know this from religion. From mythology, we've seen time and time again The evil guy wants to control the world. He doesn't want to share power. Okay? Whereas we as people, this is where we need to get it right. We should not be seeking to separate ourselves from each other. Our power comes in uniting together. Okay? That's where our power comes from. And if we don't like what certain people are doing, we collectively show our dissent and we collectively take action. And that's all that's needed. And things will stay in check. But the way how people with power are trying to divide us, okay? This is what they're trying to do, divide us. Anybody who's trying to unite us, that's a good thing, generally speaking. You have to be careful because it can misinform you. You have to be informed as well. But a united set of people is always going to be stronger than singular people. Now, here's the thing. What the powers that be want to do with us, just to get you to understand how it goes, it's very simple. They want to divide us, then scare us into making decisions that are unwise. And when everyone is isolated from everyone, people are weaker. And as a result, they're going to try and impose certain things on us, like vaccination. Oh, you need to get vaccinated for a virus that doesn't kill not even 1% of the people. It doesn't even kill 1% of the people. Now, 1% of the people might get it, you know what I mean? And rising, but it doesn't kill 1%. So you panic because you're in isolation. You're not thinking as a collective. As a result of your panic, you're going to make poor decisions because you're not sitting down consulting with each other in a populist way. And as a result of poor decisions, you will surrender your power and authority to higher powers who can able to manipulate you genetically and otherwise. So what you have to do is be smart out here. And I think a lot of you are smart. Okay? And collectively, we have to come together. This is the beauty of the internet. It allows us to come together and allows us to push for things that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do because we would not be connected like that. This internet is actually better than the television in many respects if we utilize it properly, because it allows people from many different backgrounds to be able to come together and have a say. And your say is powerful. Don't let anybody fool you. You know, people say, oh, you just have this miscreant video out there. You're talking into the atmosphere. You're talking by yourself. There's nobody viewing your stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. I know I need to get it out. That's what's important. And I need to share it. And that's what's important. Where it goes and who sees it, and that's irrelevant. Because what happens eventually is we as a people singularly, doesn't matter your nationality or whatever you are, or whoever you are, we as a people have to work together to make outcomes happen. And that's the only way certain things can be averted. The moment we are divided, the moment we are cut up into pieces and pit against each other, that's when we're weak. I looked at the elections and I see what I see. I see the voice of the people speaking, right? And without being too premature, I said, well, you know what I think it's going to end up being. That's what they picked. Now, at the end of the day, they're going to live with their choice that they picked. But at the same time, they should not cease to be vocal. As people, you should continue to be vocal for what you expect to see, what's your hopes and dreams. You need to be vocal, because I guarantee you, the people who are about no good, they're very vocal and they're making sure their message goes out there. But you guys need to be more vocal about things which are positive. We don't see a lot of positive voices out here, and we need to get more positive people talking positive things. That's all I got to say for now. I'm what you need. You guys see enough of me and my ugly looking face. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Always, we trying to do something good. I look at guys like Coach Eric Bradley. I look at guys like even Showbiz the Adult. He's trying to do something good. He's trying to do something positive, you know, and that's good. And that's what we need to see more of, positivity. You know, in sports, yes, you're gonna be competitive. You guys are gonna trash talk each other and all of that, and that's cool. But the negativity all the time is not good. You can't be just attacking all the negative things about a person and you're not mentioning the positive. It's imbalance. You have to mix and match it. You have to state the positive things about people and you also have to speak about the negative things. But at the same time, if you're in sports, okay, and you're saying, "Oh, boxing coming to an end. Boxing's the worst thing ever." Why are you there then as a fan? What are you hoping to achieve? What's the outcome? If you're not satisfied with boxing, why are you watching it? So for me, you got to know why you love the sport. If you say you love the sport, then why are you saying such negative things? Oh, because I feel so hurt. But you're not saying anything positive whatsoever. How do we know? How can you explain this to me? If somebody's saying negative things about everything that has to do with something, right? They're just negative all the time, right? Does that show that they love the thing? Does that show that they have any love in their heart for that thing? Absolutely not. Their actions are betraying their words. So if they say, "Oh, but man, I love this thing," but everything you say about it is negative. How could you love something that you're just spewing negativity about? So, my personal opinion, you got to mix it and match it. Just like if you're in a relationship and you have a spouse, right? You're not gonna talk negative things about the spouse every time you see the spouse. You're gonna say something negative. You're not showing that you love that person. You're not showing it, right? So, and similarly with your kids and so on, you can't be negative only. That doesn't help the situation. There are times when you need to be negative, and there are times when you need to be positive. See? All right, people, I'm gonna catch you later. I'm what you need. I'm out of here. Peace.